2015 was a special year for zombie fans. It gave us titles that still hit hard today. And the best part? Most of them are now available to stream. From outrageous comedies to dark emotional dramas, from classic hordes to mutated nightmares. This 2025 ranking takes you on a trip to the past that's still very much alive, literally. Stay until the end. One of these titles might totally surprise you. What We Become.
Hallo?
Sie sind weg.
Imagine a quiet Danish estate where life goes on lazily until one day everything stops. In What We Become, a mysterious virus suddenly appears. The authorities declare a quarantine, the streets become empty, and the residents are locked in their homes without any information. The main family, a father, mother, teenage son, and little daughter, tries to survive the chaos and the increasingly strange behavior of their neighbors. In time, it turns out that it's not just a virus, but something much worse. People are starting to transform. The film shows how ordinary people, isolated and frightened, begin to lose their humanity. This is not just a story about an epidemic, but about what fear can do to a person and how thin the line between order and collapse is. Available on AMC+.
Im Moment gibt es keine spezifische
Dead Rising, Watchtower. It started out like another routine report from the scene of the crisis, but very quickly turned into a nightmare without end. Dead Rising. Watchtower is the story of journalist Chase Carter, who finds himself in a quarantine zone in a city gripped by a zombie outbreak. The government distributes the drug Zombrex, meant to contain the infection, until it suddenly stops working. The city is shut down, and a fight for survival begins among the infected. Chase, along with a group of random survivors, tries not only to survive, but also to discover what is really behind the chaos. The film combines dynamic action, post-apocalyptic atmosphere, and the paranoia of a government conspiracy to create a brutal and adrenaline-filled story about a world where everything is out of control. Available for free on Tubi.
To build weapons. Lots of weapons. Possible. Grandma. Grandpa too.
Summer Camp.
Will, seriously, just get out of there, man. This little lady's...
In a remote area where there was supposed to be only laughter, sunshine, and summer adventure, something went horribly wrong. Summer Camp is the story of 4 young caregivers who arrive at a Spanish resort to prepare the grounds before the children arrive. Instead of a vacation break, they find themselves trapped in a death trap when an unknown infection begins to turn people into aggressive, savage beasts. The infected go into a violent rage, attacking everyone in their path. To make matters worse, the disease works in cycles. After the attack, consciousness returns, leaving the victims with a horrifying awareness of what they have done. The film is an intense mix of claustrophobia, panic, and brutality, showing that the worst monsters can lurk not in the woods, but in ourselves. Available for free on Vudu. Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Let's go.
What happens when a guy with a saw instead of a hand, instead of saving the world, chooses life in a trailer and cheap beer? Ash Williams, the hero from years ago, again comes face to face with the nightmare that he himself accidentally awoke. The Necronomicon is back, and with it, demons, evil, and endless slaughter. This time, Ash is not a lone warrior. He is joined by an unruly team of allies, ready to stand up to the forces of hell. The series is an explosive mix of black humor, bloody action, and nostalgia that takes no prisoners. This is not a polite horror movie. It's a brutal, frenetic ride that doesn't slow down from the first scene. Available on Stars.
Yeah.
iZombie.
Kidding. Kind of. I do need brains.
At first glance, it's simply a story about a young woman working in a morgue, but iZombie is something much more original. The main character, Liv Moore, was an aspiring doctor until one party changed her life, or rather, ended it. Now, as a zombie, she tries to function in the world of humans. To preserve the remnants of humanity, she has to eat brains. And here's where the twist begins. With each brain she eats, Liv gains the memories and traits of the victim. Soon, she starts helping the police solve murders by impersonating the dead. The series combines detective fiction, drama, and black humor in a completely fresh way. Instead of mindless zombies, here we have an intelligent, sensitive heroine who balances daily between what is human and what is monstrous. Available on Max.
A massive zombie outbreak means never having to say you're sorry.
Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse.
What is that? It's a bomb. What are you, the Taliban?
Sometimes the greatest hero of the apocalypse can become a scout. Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse is a wacky horror comedy in which 3 teenage scouts face off against a horde of the living dead. Instead of a simple camping trip and earning badges, Ben, Carter, and Augie must use their survival skills to save the town from annihilation. It all starts with an experiment in the lab that goes out of control and spreads a virus. The guys, armed with homemade weapons, join forces with feisty barmaid Denise and set out to save the city. The film is full of absurd humor, bloody action, and surprising scenes that balance between horror and crazy adventure. It's a story about friendship, coming of age, and kicking zombie ass. Available on Paramount Plus.
What is going on?
Do you think everyone's eating each other?
Like a...
Guys, the police are gone. The military, they're not coming either.
The Resort.
Years ago was the deadliest pandemic the world has ever known.
What would you do if you went on a luxury vacation and instead of a drink with a palm tree, you got a horde of angry zombies? The Resort is a story about a world after a major epidemic where the living dead have been defeated and then confined to a special theme park. There, rich tourists can legally hunt zombies as if they were on safari. When a group of visitors arrive on the island, everything seems safe until the system fails and the nightmare returns. Trapped between waves of the undead, the heroes must fight for their lives while discovering that this park hides a terrifying truth. The film asks questions about morality, humanity, and the limits of entertainment, showing that fun at the expense of others always comes at a price. Available to rent or buy online.
What's it like? Killing them.
Maggie.
And get her straight into quarantine.
No one knows how much time she has left. Days? Weeks? Maybe just hours. In Maggie, the world is grappling with a slow-moving epidemic, but this film doesn't show chaos or battles with hordes of zombies. It's an intimate, moving story about a father who doesn't want to lose his daughter. Maggie has been infected with a virus that slowly turns people into the living dead. Her body and mind begin to change, but her father, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, can't say goodbye to her. In Shadow of Doom, instead of action, we get silence, tears, and a desperate attempt to stop time. It's a story about love, loss, and last moments that mean more than a lifetime. Available on Max.
I made a promise, dear mother. I will protect you.
Re-kill.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't stop this.
I don't know if anyone will ever see this.
Just think, the world barely survived the zombie apocalypse, and now it's broadcasting it live on TV. Re-Kill is an unusual mix of found footage and reality show set 5 years after the outbreak that decimated humanity. A special R-Division unit tracks down and eliminates the remaining threats, all tracked by cameras like a violent show for a thrill-hungry audience. At the center of the action is a squad of soldiers who embark on a dangerous mission in a contaminated zone where they discover something far worse than ordinary zombies, intelligent, organized beasts. The film asks the question, what happens when the fight for survival becomes entertainment? This is a brutal, dynamic, and disturbingly timely story about how far humanity can go when tragedy turns into a show. Not currently available online.
Once you're bitten, you're done.
Contracted, Phase 2.
4 dead bodies and 3 missing girls.
Who would have thought that a simple infection would turn someone's life into a slow-motion nightmare? Contracted, Phase 2 continues the macabre story from the first part. The main character is Riley, a boy who has been infected with a mysterious virus that decomposes his body piece by piece. Struggling with a progressive disease, he tries to find the source of the contagion, an elusive man named BJ. With the help of Detective Crystal Young, he tries to stop the epidemic that is beginning to engulf the entire city. The film shows the brutal process of transformation, sparing the viewer no drastic images of the body in decay. This is not a classic zombie movie. It is a terrifyingly intimate horror film about contagion, guilt, and the inevitable transformation into something that can no longer be stopped. Available on AMC+. Extinction.
Hey, Reem, you're out there?
They adapted to their environment.
Just think, it's been 9 years since the zombie apocalypse, and you're still alive in the cold, loneliness, and fear. Extinction is a story about 2 men who live in a cut-off frozen town after the end of the world, avoiding contact with each other. Between them is a girl, Lou, the daughter of one of them. Although the danger seems to have passed, something terrifying is returning. The undead are not only alive, but have evolved. They are faster, stronger, and hunt by sound. When the threat becomes real, former enemies must join forces to protect the child. The film combines a cold, post-apocalyptic atmosphere with a deeply emotional story about guilt, redemption, and humanity. Extinction focuses not on action, but on atmosphere and suspense, showing that the hardest thing to survive is your own conscience. Available to rent or buy on YouTube.
Why do you keep so many locks on the door?
They're coming.
Fear the Walking Dead.
That's what people always say when there's something to be afraid of.
Just think, you're in Los Angeles, and the world you know is just starting to fall apart. Fear the Walking Dead is a series that shows the beginning of the zombie apocalypse, before people even understood what was happening. The main character, Madison Clark, a teacher and mother, tries to protect her family as chaos grows around her and the dead begin to rise from their graves. It's a story about ordinary people who must learn to survive in a world without rules, where anyone can be a threat. The series slowly builds tension. It shows the first signs of panic, the reactions of the authorities, and the despair of those who refuse to come to terms with the new reality. It's not just about zombies. It's a story about how strength is born in the face of disaster, but also how easily a person can change when lives are at stake. Available on AMC+.
You can trust us. You don't have to be afraid.
This wasn't just any year for horror fans. 2015 delivered zombie stories that still hit hard after a decade. Let us know in the comments which title stuck with you the most. And if you're into zombie chaos, apocalyptic worlds, and killer cinema, make sure to subscribe. More undead countdowns are just around the corner.